All right, let's jump right in. Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're taking a comprehensive step-by-step look at the entire life cycle of web creation. We're going to break down exactly how an abstract idea transforms into a lightning-fast live application. Whether you're running a business, you're a budding developer, or you're just genuinely curious about how the digital world gets built, understanding this journey is absolutely crucial.
So here's our roadmap for today. We're going to cover UI versus UX, the software development lifecycle, measuring core web vitals, speed optimization techniques, and finally, deploying your web application.
Let's kick things off with Section 1, UI versus UX, the blueprint and the aesthetics.
When a website is first conceived, the design really splits into two distinct disciplines. UX, or user experience, is basically your blueprint. It's the pure logic of the user's journey, dictating where a button should go to reduce friction and how intuitively a user gets from point A to point B. UI, or user interface, is the visual layer. That's the typography and the brand colors that make that button pop and establish your visual identity.
But what happens when these two are out of whack? Imagine a site with phenomenal UI but terrible UX. It's like a high-end fashion magazine, absolutely stunning to look at. But if it takes 10 seconds to load or the search bar is literally impossible to find, well, as the saying goes, it's all vibes, no substance. Users are just going to get frustrated and bounce because they can't figure out how to actually navigate.
On the flip side, what about great UX with bad UI? The logic is flawless. You find exactly what you need in seconds, but it looks like it was built back in 2003. Even if it works perfectly, a highly outdated interface makes users hesitate. They might not trust you simply because the business doesn't look modern or professional. You absolutely need both of these disciplines working together in perfect harmony.
Moving right along to Section 2, the software development lifecycle, or the construction crew. Building complex web apps isn't just throwing code at a wall to see what sticks. It requires a rigorous engineering process. The Standard Software Development Lifecycle, or SDLC, takes a project from a strict financial feasibility study through deep technical analysis and design right into programming. And notice how testing is shifted to the left here. That's to catch bugs and security vulnerabilities early, way before anything actually hits production.
Now, why do we need such a strict, structured process? Well, check out this number. According to a classic 2009 estimate, only 32% of software projects actually finished on time, on budget, and with all their promised functionality. Just 32%. The rest were either late, missing features, or straight up canceled. Following a structured methodology is exactly how development teams manage risk and beat those odds.
Okay, Section 3, measuring core web vitals. Let's supercharge that engine. In today's digital landscape, speed isn't just a nice-to-have, it's a direct Google ranking factor. The first standardized metric Google uses is LCP, or Largest Contentful Paint. This measures loading performance. Basically, it marks the exact moment when the biggest piece of content on your screen, say a huge hero image or a massive block of text, becomes fully visible. It's that crucial first signal telling the user, hey, this site is actually working.
And the magic number you've got to remember for LCP? 2.5 seconds. For a genuinely good user experience, that largest piece of content has to load within 2.5 seconds of the page starting to load. Every single millisecond past that, and your bounce rate is going to skyrocket.
Next up is INP, or Interaction to Next Paint. This recently replaced First Input Delay, and it's all about interactivity. If someone taps an accordion menu or clicks a buy button, INP measures how incredibly fast the page reacts to that input. A solid score here is 200 milliseconds or less. We've all experienced that agonizing wait after clicking a button, wondering if anything's actually happening, right? That is bad INP in action.
The third vital is CLS, or Cumulative Layout Shift, which measures visual stability. Have you ever been reading an article on your phone and suddenly an image or ad loads in late, shoves all the text down, and you completely lose your place? Or worse, you go to tap a button, the page jumps, and you click the wrong thing. That's layout shift. To keep people from rage quitting, this score needs to stay at 0.1 or less. All right, Section 4, speed optimization techniques. Time for some fine-tuning.
Let's start with the foundation, because if you're building on shaky ground, nothing else is going to fix a slow site. Step 1, high-quality managed hosting. If you're stuck on a cheap shared server, your site is going to drag, for sure. Next, leverage a content delivery network, or CDN. This essentially distributes copies of your files globally, so a user in London downloads from a London server, not one in Dallas.
Then set up caching to save pre-built versions of your site, which saves your server from doing the exact same work for every single visitor. And finally, use zip or Brotli compression to zip up text files before they even hit the network.
Once that backend is locked in, it's time to look at your assets. For most sites, the biggest bottleneck is images. Uploading massive, unoptimized photos is literally like pouring digital concrete into your site. You've got to compress them and use next-gen formats like WebP or AVIF. You also need to minify your code. That just means stripping out all the useless spaces and comments in your CSS and HTML so the files are much smaller. Defer any non-essential JavaScript so it doesn't block the page from rendering. Oh, and don't forget to optimize your web fonts. Host them locally and use the modern WOF2 format.
Now, here's a speed killer that flies under the radar all the time. Web creation expert Itamar Haim sums it up perfectly. He says, every third-party script you add is like inviting a stranger to a dinner party. You don't know how much they'll eat or how slow they'll walk. He's talking about things like Google Analytics, Facebook Pixels, or those live chat widgets. Because these run on someone else's server, if their server's having a bad day, your site is having a bad day. You have to audit these relentlessly.
Finally, Section 5, Deploying your web application. Let's hit the digital highway.
Where you actually launch depends entirely on what you've built. If you just have a simple, static site or a documentation page, GitHub Pages is fantastic. It's free and integrates right into your code repository, though it is limited to static files. Now, if you've built a modern front-end app using frameworks like React or Next.js, Vercel is hugely popular for its lightning-fast global CDN, though keep in mind pricing can scale up as your project grows. And if you need a versatile, full-stack environment that handles dynamic web services, APIs, or databases, Render is a powerhouse that offers free SSL even if the free tier is a bit tight. Choosing the right platform is really that final piece of the puzzle.
And that brings us to the end of our journey today and to a pretty important realization. Building a website is never just a one-and-done event. It is a constant, ongoing cycle of design, development, optimization, and deployment. You've seen how UX and UI create the blueprint, how the development cycle builds it, and how rigorous performance tuning keeps it competitive. But with user expectations constantly rising and tech always shifting, a digital product is never truly finished. So I want to leave you with this to think about. When you look at your own digital presence today, what will your next iteration look like? Thanks for joining me for this explainer, and I hope this gives you the tools you need to build faster, smarter, and better.